Welcome back to DAGryffyn Hobby. My name's Dave. I've got something a little different for you today, and that would be one of the new Lionel battery-operated train sets. This is one of their new battery-operated O-gauge sets. Is there play value? Is there quality? Is there something in here that's worth having? Let's check out the set and find out. So why a battery-operated Thomas set? That's a good question. I feel like this is the type of product that as hobbyists we would dismiss pretty much immediately. And I was wondering if that's fair or not. Now obviously people who are interested in the higher end Lionel stuff aren't necessarily going to be interested in this set or sets like it. But we often talk about the financial accessibility of the hobby, where most people aren't going to shell out $2,000 for an engine, especially for a kid. I myself have little kids, well, not so little anymore. They're not going to be interested in this set, but if I were trying to get them into the hobby, would I be buying them a top dollar item? I don't buy myself top dollar items. So I was looking at the new catalog and recent catalogs and wondering, is there something that really can attract the younger crowd, get them into the hobby, and provide some decent interest, and hopefully lend itself towards continuing in the hobby? Now, I've had a larger scale Lionel battery operated set in the past, the Harry Potter set. And while it's decent under the tree and the kids played with it and had a good time, it's not like I can take it outside and run it on my layout. So its use was pretty limited. That, and it just wasn't great. It was kind of loud and clunky and extremely toy-like. Now, I'm not expecting this to not be toy-like. I mean, this just screams toy. And that's fine, because after all, that's what this hobby is. It's a bunch of toys. So my interest in this set was, is it a good value? Does it give a kid something to play with that is similar to the higher end trains? And might it lead them down the path to collecting O-gauge trains? While I was thinking about all this, I happened onto Amazon, and this particular set was on sale for $58, I think. So I figured, what the heck? Seems like a perfect time to check it out and see if it's really what we need in the hobby to pull new people in. First off, the box is a lot of fun. It attracts the eye. It's got great artwork on it, very cartoony and toy-like and fun-looking. I'm interested to check out all the stuff that comes in here. I mean, this comes with a couple of switches and some trees and some signals and whatnot. Nothing fantastic, I'm sure, but it adds to the playability. The one thing that really struck me about this is that nowhere on the box does it say anything about the track being O-gauge or that any of this is compatible with O-gauge, which I thought was kind of crazy. It is, in fact, the O-gauge set. I looked it up by part number, and if you look at it online, it does say battery-operated O-gauge set. It just says that nowhere on the box. Tape was easy to cut. Sounds like I'm breaking the box. Whole thing slides out on a tray. You got the plastic tray with the train, the remote, the faces, and the accessories, and then the cardboard box, which should have the track in it. For an inexpensive set, it's a good amount of track. You got a crossover, 4 switches, 2 bundles of straight track, and 4 bundles of curves. The instructions inside do say Lionel O-gauge set, so at least it says it somewhere. It's nice that there are options for layouts, from a basic circle to an oval to a figure 8. It's pretty cool. Definitely playability there. The track was real easy to snap together, and it's pretty secure, but it's easy enough to snap together while you're holding it. Sometimes I find tracks like this are much easier to snap together when they're on the floor, keeping everything in line, but these so far no problem whatsoever. Put the track together, you just hold the two pieces, line them up and push them together. Super simple. I made the basic loop. I've still got 4 pieces of turn, 2 bundles of straight, the 4 switches, and the crossover. Now let's take a look at the train. Little paper around the funnel with tiny, tiny print I can't read. It's a very cartoonish Thomas. Proportions and angles are a little different, but it kind of makes it look fun and, well, childlike. I find it interesting that the funnel is back at an angle, but then the whole thing has some funny angles to it. The cars do not say Annie and Clarabelle on them. They've got the faces, but no name on the side. I think that's a weird choice. Very basic O-gauge couplers. Top comes off the car so your kid can load it full of whatever other toys they want to put in there. Again, the proportions and the shape are more cartoonish, with it getting wider as they go up. I'll have to compare the cars to the other set that I picked up. These seem bigger, but maybe that's just because they get wider as they go up. The remote pretty much looks like any Lion Chief set. Bell, whistle, announcements, power, switch on the side, and the dial, which feels horrible, actually. That dial doesn't feel good. It's kind of tight. Actually, it's pretty tight, especially for little hands. But then it loosens up right about there. Real tight in the middle. Huh. I wonder if they're all like that or if it's just mine. Got a couple of really odd looking trees, railroad crossing lights, one with a gate, one telephone pole, and a birdhouse. Now, I guess it's a block light of some sort, but also, well, now I broke it. It doesn't stand up straight, it kind of leans. The construction on these little accessories is pretty cheap. I don't imagine that any of these 4 accessories would last very long. It also comes with a dropper bottle. Why does it come with a dropper bottle? Well, it doesn't have a smoke unit, but it has a smoke-like vapor unit. So I'm interested to see how that turns out. I guess the next step is finding some batteries. Hopefully, I've got some. Thomas takes 4 AA batteries, and the remote takes 3 AAA batteries. I'm going to set this all up on the floor, and we'll see how it works. Power switch right on the back. Power switch on the remote. Okay.
All aboard! All right, full steam ahead. That was fantastic. There's no time for delay. All aboard!
I like the whistle. Compared to my first train, this is already a lot cooler. My main complaint is how stiff the wheel is here. It should move a lot easier than it's moving. But it's got a decent slow speed, forward and reverse. In reverse, I notice it's making kind of a gear noise, but forward, it's pretty quiet. It's even got a little headlight. That's pretty cool. But there's also this water vapor smoke that's supposed to come out of it. You take this little guy out, and your water dropper, and you make a mess. Well, maybe not. You know, don't try to make a mess. I put too much in. Let's see if we get any water vapor out of this. I've seen a little water vapor intermittently when I'm putting that plug in and out, but not a lot yet. Nope. Maybe I overfilled it. Look at that go. That's pretty cool. So I guess if you fill it up and it's not producing any steam, tilt it back a little bit. Okay, I turned it upside down, a little bit came out. First reactions. I mean, I could be overly harsh and just trash this set, but I don't think that's the point. It's also unnecessary. It's a neat set. I like the look, even though it's cartoonish, of the engine and the cars. I feel like I don't know if the colors are any different, but it feels brighter. It's got a good amount of recordings in there. The music that's on the bell button is not the best. But all the things that Thomas says are great. I love the whistle. The vapor smoke, I'm quite impressed with that. I didn't expect it to work at all. So when it wasn't working at first, I wasn't surprised. But that's because I overfilled it. So once, or maybe it needed to work in there, and I don't know. It was the first time I used it, so maybe it needed some time to warm up. But once it started working, it was working great. A lot of really good-looking smoke, and no smell. I think this is a very cool feature. I'm interested to see how long it will last on one fill-up. I think my main complaint is still the dial on this remote. It's very stiff. It's going to be hard for little fingers to control. I don't know if it's just this particular one. Maybe it wasn't put together very well. I'm tempted to take it apart and see if something's wrong inside. It's certainly tougher to turn than any of my Lion Chief remotes. The track seems decent. It stayed together just fine as the train was going around. A little bit of wobbles here and there. I don't know if that's the track or the engine itself. I am interested to see what it looks like on my layout with the tubular track and see how it performs there. I think it's a pretty neat set. The cars are pretty good quality. The whole train is pretty good quality, and I think would stand up to years of play. I enjoyed using it, and my dog was pretty interested as well. I was just running them for about 8 or 9 minutes around the layout. Doing great as far as an inexpensive train to run on a no-gauge layout, so I'm pretty impressed with that. It's a little light, so it's finding any sort of irregularity in the track and banging across it, which is fine. I mean, you could always add a little weight to the cars if you wanted to, but that'd probably just lessen the duration that you could run the train. But it's doing just fine on here. I don't have any switches on this layout, so I can't really see how this does across O-gauge switches. It did do fine with its own plastic track and plastic switches. That actually forms a pretty good size layout and could be certainly plenty of fun. I was looking at the catalog. The set retails for about 70 something. I got it for about 58, and for that money, I'm impressed. I think it's a fun train. And this might qualify as my first ever purchase out of a current catalog. Wow. I hadn't realized that until a few minutes ago. So this is my first purchase out of the Lionel catalog. It's a current item, and I bought it. As I had pointed out earlier, the shapes are a little different. The engine's shorter and kind of trapezoidal. The cars get bigger as they go up. The car bottoms are about the same size, but they do in fact end up being wider at the top because of the angle. They're just a little bit shorter, but really either train works just fine. I do like the look of the traditional size Thomas with the side rods and the bigger wheels and everything. And considering I picked up both of these sets for about the same price, I personally would be happier with the traditional Thomas. But for a kid, you want to get them something that they can also run on your layout, this is fantastic. I'm pretty impressed with the vapor smoke. It just keeps going. I filled it up, well, I overfilled it originally, dumped some out, and it produced plenty of vapor. I put 2 or 3 more drops in. I don't think I needed to. At least on the short term, I'm very impressed with this set, and I totally think it's worth it. Will it continue to run well? I don't know. I think I'm going to set it up here in the garage and put it up to just about high speed and just let it cook around the layout, and I'll come back out later and check it out. But all things considered, it's a pretty neat little set. I'm trying to think if there's anything I want to complain about before I get back to running it. I really don't think there is. It's got just enough features to be very entertaining. It looks fun, and it's just easy and fun to use. I don't know that that means that I would buy another battery-operated set. I really don't have a need for them. I wouldn't want to really waste money on them, but this might be a very fun and inexpensive way to get a kid into the hobby. So if you're considering one of these battery O-gauge sets, I would recommend one. I still want to see what kind of longevity they have, but out of the box and playing with it for a day or two, it's pretty neat.
All aboard!
All right, it's been out here running for close to 4 hours. It was not producing any vapor, but then I went to add more water, and before I did that, it started puffing like crazy again. Just from the water I put in there when I opened the set, it's still going, so that's really impressive. I thought it would have produced vapor for about 5 minutes and then stopped. I kind of want to take it apart and see what it looks like, because it's a pretty cool setup. After all that time out here running, it was still going at a pretty good speed. It seems to be reacting slowly to the remote, but it's still performing. So after almost 4 hours of constant running, it was still going. I did notice that it was squeaking a bit, so I just put a drop of oil on each axle, and that took care of it. And now it's running nice and quiet again. I did the engine and the cars. Other than that, it hasn't needed any attention, and it's just been performing very well. I have to say, I'm quite impressed with this set. For a retail price of under $100, you get a pretty decent set. The cars are just as good quality as the cars that came with my traditional size Thomas. The engine, while shorter and cartoonish, is a lot of fun and does the job. There are a couple of things that take this from just basic plastic toy to decent train set. The whistle, the music, the announcements, all very neat. And then the smoke or water vapor is just such an awesome touch, and it works so well. And then a little headlight. It's something my traditional Thomas does not have, so 1 point for that. Overall, I'm really impressed with this set. I don't know how it will go long term. If I end up keeping this, then I guess maybe I'll test it once in a while and run around, do a sort of torture test like I do to the Menards engine once in a while. I came into this with extremely low expectations, which is maybe why I'm feeling so impressed with this little set right now, but it's doing all the things it should be doing. I mean, the only thing it doesn't do is pick up power from the third rail, which would be nice, because then I wouldn't have to worry about batteries. But if it's going to last almost 4 hours and still have battery left after chuffing around my layout at almost full speed, then I gotta say that they did something right. And this is pretty neat. So I'm glad I picked this up. Now I've got 2 Thomas sets to run. This has been a lot of fun, and I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised by it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time on DAGryffyn Hobby.